Hello again. I am going to teach you some of the most important parts about Salesforce. And that is about entering in organizations and contacts. First and foremost, use your search. There is a good chance that they already exist in Salesforce. Now, sometimes you're going to look for the whole name. Sometimes you're going to look for a portion of the name. Let's say I want to look at anything named Brookie Kiddo Care or anything with kiddo. I'm going to search for kiddo. If it's a person's name, I might search for Beth. These searches will give you a lot of results. Make sure you search really well before you ever enter in a new organization or contact. Now, obviously, every month, a lot of new providers are entered, and there will be opportunities that you will have to enter in a new organization and or contact. So that's what I'm going to do here is show you how to enter in an organization and contact. Now, when you make a connection with a person, you're actually connecting with a person and they are a contact. Obviously, they work for an organization. It is easiest to enter in an organization before the contact, whether they be an individual who works for themselves or an individual that works for a childcare center or a business. So I'm going to show you the best case scenario, and that is entering in an organization first. So easiest way to go about that is on any of your apps and going to organizations and then moving all the way to the right and clicking new. So the first window that pops up asks, okay, select a record type. And you have 4 options. I'll tell you right now, for our program, you'll never use these 2 in the middle. You'll never use C&P Online. You'll never use household. You'll always use organization or provider. And I will say in 90% of the cases, you will use provider. So by selecting one of these types, it actually opens up fields and related tables that work with what we do as a program. As a provider, all of a sudden, you're going to have access to add them to trainings and doing your technical assistance or special projects. So you're going to use this in most all cases because in most cases, we're providing a service to somebody, so therefore you're going to choose provider. The other option for a program is organization, and the only time you would use that is if we have connected with a company or organization who will not be using any of our services, but instead is just a contact that we use to help provide more services or that perhaps provides us funding or so forth. So for the purposes of this training, we're going to assume everybody you deal with is a provider. So on this record page, you would click provider and click next. So what this does is this now opens up the editable version of an organization and it asks you a lot of questions. It starts off with organization name. Now, if you're working with a childcare center, a preschool, company, so forth, the organization name is pretty straightforward. If you're working with, for example, New Generations Childcare Center, we would type in New Generations Childcare Center here. But a lot of cases you're working with a family childcare home, so this can be very confusing. With family childcare homes, we're actually going to use their first name and last name as their organization name. So we're going to say that we have a new provider and his name just happens to be Jason Moma. And he is going to be a family childcare home. And in our next field here, by the way, kind of provider, we have our typical licensing types: family childcare, childcare center, Head Start Center, all of these. But we also have some random ones in here, like a teacher or a substitute. And we even have down here a potential family childcare provider, potential childcare center, someone preparing to work in a childcare center. So these are individuals that we talk to that in most cases need training, but they don't belong anywhere yet. They still need their own organization. But let's say they're a family childcare home or a group home, they're going to need a family childcare business name. Obviously, if they're a childcare center, that field would be blank. But in the case of Jason Moma, he is doing Aquaman Family Childcare. Okay. FCC business name is not required. Highly encouraged if you choose family childcare or family group home, because in most cases they're going to have their own business name. County is required. We serve Butler, Kelly, Harvey, Sedgwick, and Sumner, so it's probably going to fall in there. But I'll tell you, popularity rules. We have a lot of services online. You may have other counties. Every single county in Kansas is found in that list. License ID, if they're licensed, you can look on WLS, you can find their license ID, and you can just enter it right on in there. Phone, use their main phone. That you will learn because you've called or talked to them, and if you don't learn it that way, ask them for it. Fax, hardly anybody uses that, but it's not required, so don't worry about it if you don't have it. Website, it's good to have. It doesn't serve many purposes for us at this point, but if you do have it, go ahead and enter it in. These next two fields are something you would come back to after entering in them and their contact. We're only looking at organizations right now. So after you enter in their contacts, you're going to want to come back and enter in their primary contact. If it's Jason Moma, he's a family childcare provider. Our next step will be showing you how to enter them as a contact. You'll come back here and search for Jason Moma and enter it as a primary contact. Now, if it's a childcare center, preschool, something with multiple staff, you're going to want to try to find the primary contact as the director or owner or the person that has who can actually be the person we reach out to help figure out how we can get into that system. Parent organization, the example of that, in most cases, it will be blank. There are some examples like if we're working with YMCA, which has multiple sites. There's a couple other childcare centers that work under an umbrella. We would attach that organization. And the cool thing with this is you can start either one of these fields. You can start typing, and I can say YMCA, and it'll start listing everything that's an option. Next steps here is addresses. So as you can tell, we have a billing address, we have a shipping address. Childcare centers may have different addresses. I'll tell you that the shipping address is exactly where their location is. So I would, at this point, and this may change in the future, enter in their address right here. And then if it is a special situation, especially with the organizations, I put in a description. For example, if we were working on an organization that provided health kits to childcare centers, I'd put that in the description. Everybody can see that. Click save. Oh, because I started clicking in there. Sorry, my fault. So All of a sudden, I now have an organization, family childcare, named Jason Moma. It throws me on there. Now, we've had contact with them, but we're not ready to add that yet because we only have contact with contacts. We don't have a contact with an organization because that is a company. We have contact with contacts. So if we have an organization, we must have a contact. So it drops me right off where I need to be. And I look at contacts and I click new. And we now know that we are talking to the one and only Jason Moma. Okay. It's automatically going to add the organization name. Title, again, not required but preferred. He's a family childcare home, so he is an owner. And we've already talked to him. We know his zip code is 67204. That will be helpful later on. Right over here, we have two fields, lead source and referred by. Lead source, you have options. Did he come from CCC orientation? That means Child Care Center. Did he come from FCC orientation, which means Family Child Care orientation? Did he come through a grant? Did he come through the KDHE licensing list, membership? There are a lot of options here. Choose the one that fits best. If nothing fits, like he called out of nowhere and said, hey, I'm a child care provider, I need help. Guess what? He is an organic new provider. Organic basically means they came out of nowhere. They just blossomed on their own. Referred by. So there's a chance that you have KDHE, TCF, or another provider say, hey, this person needs help, and you reached out to them first. That's when you'd use the referred by. You would just search for the name of the contact that helped you find them. We'll say it's me in this case and call it good. And contact information looks very familiar, but this time we're focusing on the phone number and the email. So whatever phone number you have, whether it be home, mobile, work, or other, enter it in. If you have multiple, enter them in. But you will have to select a preferred phone, which is based off of what you enter in here. Preferred email. Well, right now, we can use the email field. If they only have one email, enter it in here and you don't even have to choose preferred email. Address information, you can actually ignore this for now. It's beautiful. Ignore it and it'll pull from their organization. Anything below this, especially the demographics, actually gets pulled in from when they attended training. There's nothing wrong with asking for this. The more we have, the better our funders will like us. But if you're uncomfortable at this point, we're not asking you to ask this information. We just click save. If you missed anything very important, it will give you a warning that you did not get it. To review, every organization needs a contact. Every contact needs an organization. Always best to enter in organizations first. Always best to enter in as many fields as you can. If it's family childcare, their organization name is their first and last name. Beyond that, you can always ask questions as needed. I'm always available for you to do that. Thanks.